Mara here from Posh Cat Crafts. Thank you for joining me. In today's video we are going to be making up the front and back cover and the spine of our mini album. We've already made the hinge, which we did in the previous video, so if you want to watch that one first you can do, or watch this one and then we can add this later. So it doesn't matter, you can either watch part 1 first and then part 2, or then part 2 and part 1, it doesn't really matter. So for our front and back covers and this spine, you're going to need some I have some chipboard here, and it is quite thick. It is, I think, 960 GSM. I think that's the weight of it, so it's quite thick. It's possibly about 1/8 of an inch thickness. It does cut on your on this guillotine. It does take a bit of oomph to get it to cut, but it does cut it, and then we can definitely gauge it. Although this won't cut it, I'm just going to mark it. So that is 6.5. I'm just going to mark it down there. Oh, it might cut it actually. Oh, that's not bad, look at that. So I'm going to actually cut that off. I'm going to leave that. Well, I've just found something out new. Now it doesn't matter because you're not going to see these edges because we are going to cover them in some craft card. So I'm just going to chop off that excess bit, so I don't need that. So goodbye. Okay, so that's this one. So it's 6.5 by 6.5 because that then is our square. And I'm going to go this way. Okay, let's chop that bit down. So just cut that off. Like so. So that's one. And then the other. So again, 6.5. There we go, and then 6.5 again. Now this grey board is quite easy to come by. You can pick it up if you just search it, put it in your search engine, grey board, it should come up. Or it's sometimes also called mount board, so you could try that as well. So I'm just cutting these edges just to, well, I'm not cutting them, I'm just cutting the excess paper just so that I've got sort of a fairly straight edge. So we've cut our two, this is our front and back covers, so they're all cut, so that's good. Now we need to move on to our spine, and the spine is 6.5 by 3 inches. So again, go down to 6.5, cut, and I'm going to break it off that side, and so that's my 6.5, so by 3. Okay, so just there. There we go. You only did actually need 2 sheets, so that's quite good, isn't it? So 2 sheets will make up an album. So I'm just going to trim this bit up. Okay. Like so. Okay, so this is what we've then got. So this then is going to become our album, like that. So we've got the front cover, the spine and the back cover. So to join them together, we are going to use some 12 by 12 craft paper. or craft card should I say, which I've got here. And what we're going to do is we're going to join two of them together, and then we're going to cut them down. But first of all, what I'm going to do is I will need my cutter now. Use this again. Now you need 2 sheets of your 12 by 12 craft paper, and what I've done is I've put them together so that there's one on top of the other. So we need then to cut them at 8.5. So get them as perfect and aligned as you can, and then cut to 8.5, like so. Cut down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stick these two together. Okay, right, so this is 1/2 inch, this tape is, and this tape is school tape, and it is also one of the strongest on the market. This is the strongest finger lift tape that you can get. Okay, so just burnish that down and trim off, and trim off, like so, and then we stick these together. So I need my pokey tool, and then very gently stick together. Now I've just used the width of my tape as a guide, so that you get quite a nice neat finish. There, burnish down. Don't worry about this join, you're not going to see it. Right, so we've cut our pieces out. I'm just going to trim off these little bits, just the little bits of the paper that the trimmer hasn't caught. So we've got our pieces. Now what I've done is I've marked a 1 inch border around our paper, and I've got one of this Tim Holtz ruler here. It's fantastic. I think there are other ones on the market as well, but as per always, his are always the best. And if you haven't got one of these, here's why you should get one. On the ruler it marks out, so each cube here, so each cube sort of a line, that there is 1/4 inch. So you've got 2 lines of cubes, you've got 1/2 inch, and then 3 lines 3/4 inch, and then 4 lines you've got a full inch. So for things like this, when you want to mark sort of an inch border or something, it's fantastic. It takes out that where you have to measure with your ruler, put your dot, measure again and put your dot. That just takes everything out of it. It's such a handy piece of kit. As you can see, I've used mine quite a lot, so it is quite grubby. But also on this we've got the sort of the stitched embossed line that you can pierce through to make your you know, faux stitching. So that's another little handy gadget on there. So what you need to do is you need to mark an inch border along the bottom of your paper, and then again along the side. We only need to do the side and the bottom because it will then even itself out. So draw your line, so an inch round each, like so. Now don't worry about this side here, because this is going to be way too big, but once we've stuck our pieces down we can then trim that to size at a later you know, once we've done that. So to stick our pieces down, I use some double-sided tape just along the bottom edge. Now that just gives the pieces a grab hold while the glue sets. and you need that to be like that so that you can then keep working on your album. Otherwise you'll have to stop, wait for your glue to dry, and then it's going to take an age. So put your double-sided tape along the bottom, burnish it down. Okay, then we can get our glue. Now most PVA glues are brilliant. You have to maybe steer away from your children's PVA glue because that's got a bit too much water in, so it may make your card buckle. This one that I'm using is fine. It does the job. I haven't had a card yet that it has buckled, so that's why I'm using that. You can also use the Cosmic Shimmer. I've got that glue as well. I use that. And that works just as well, or any other PVA glue that you may have. So down to business. So what we're going to stick our front cover down. This is going to be our front cover. Now we need to obviously marry it up to our lines. Okay, so you line along the bottom and then the line along the side. And then as you can see, that's why we didn't need to mark the top one, because that gives us then a nice even border all the way round. So just burnish that down just to get that glue all nice and even. And so that's our first part done. Now I'm going to use the ruler again as a guide for the distance between each of my pieces. So if you haven't got one of these, you could use 2 pieces of your chipboard stuck together. That would be a nice size to give you that nice gap. And you need the gap because obviously it's going to, your book is going to be folded and opened and closed and opened and closed, so you do need that movability, should I say, not removability. Okay, so then stick that one down. I'd leave your spacer in place just for a minute, just while you're burnishing that down, because it will move. There we go, so that's our next one. Then come for our back cover. And again. I don't know if anybody else does that. I tend to try and make little patterns in my glue as I'm putting it down. I don't know why. Okay. Get that nice and in. And then burnish just to give that nice. I like to do this because it stretches the glue and evens the glue out. So there we have the start of our outside cover. Now I'm going to cut this bit down now, so I'm going to use my trimmer. I'm just going to come in this side, so you might not be able to see me. So I'm just going to put it in, and I'm going to just sort of eyeball it. I'm just going to have sort of the same, about a 1-inch border. Okay, and don't throw this part away because you can reuse that. Okay, so that then is the start. So next job is we need to get our side parts all nice and creased. Now this is going to help us when we come to fold it as well. So now, as I stated in my other video, this craft card that I'm using is Anna Marie Designs. Personally, for me, it is the best craft card I have used. I'm not getting paid to say that. I don't have any ties to Anna Marie's company at all. So this is just my personal experience. As I say, not getting paid. I haven't had any crafty goodies or anything from her. I feel so strongly about this craft card. It's fantastic, and I've tried a lot. For me, what it is, it's got a lovely, it's like a coating on one side. It's like a very smooth coating, but I just love the colour as well on that side. And then this side, this is more shiny, and then you've got the dollar side on the other side. So you could use both, it really doesn't matter, but me, I prefer this side, and it takes inks brilliantly, and it's just fantastic. It really is. But if anybody else has got any other recommendations for craft card that they've used, then please leave me a comment. You know, I'd like to try different goods and different products, and you know, see how they go. So once we've done that, and we've kind of got all our folds in place, I'm not going to fold. Yes, I am. Right, so where we've got our gaps, we're just gonna very slightly bend it up. Now if you've got an old credit card or a store points card that you don't use anymore, you could use that. That's just as handy. And just all you need to do is just fold them up, and that's just going to give us an initial crease. So having done that, we're now going to put our double-sided tape on. Now we need to double-side the tape. We need to do one along the craft card at the top, and then that's going to give us our top stick, and then we need to do one onto the craft card along the edge. So I'm just going to turn this over, and I've just realised I've done a step and I didn't actually talk about it when I was doing it. Naughty, naughty. I have my daughter in here as well, and she's laughing at me as I'm talking to the camera. She's just shaking her head and laughing. Right, so the step that I did and didn't say was you need to trim the corners of the craft card at a diagonal. Do this to about 1/8 of an inch from the corner, so that you've got a little tiny bit of card that's by the corner, but not a great deal, because you don't want a bulky finish. See, I've done this side here, and I think this side here is too much, so I may cut that down just a little bit. So you need to do that with all of them. Don't cut it right on near the corner, because then you're going to see the greyboard once you stick it all down. So cut them at a diagonal. As I say, there's no sort of measurement that I can give for that. You just have to sort of work that bit out yourself. So if I was to give a measurement, I would say about a 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, and then that will give a nice finish. Now if this is your first time making one of these books, I would suggest using scraps of paper, maybe some scrap card that you might have, and give it a go before you do your real thing. And then you've got a sample book then that you can you can refer to when you want to make some more. If you don't want to listen to me babbling on all the time, then you've got your own. So I'm just going to cut. No, I'll leave that. Right, so with these corners, what we do is I'm just going to push them in so that I create like a, I don't know if you can see, I've just pushed it in to create like a little fold. Okay, that's going to fold in and hopefully give us a nice crisp finish, like so. So take off your double-sided tape. I take it off as I go around so that I know where I am. So we'll do this one first. So push that in and then push over. That's the one side done. Then I'm going to do this side here. So again, just take that double-sided tape off, and this side, like so. Then just push this one in. I think I may need to cut, yes, I'm just going to cut this side down just a tiny bit more because it's too big. There we go. Didn't cut too much off, just a little bit. And then push that in, and then fold all the way over. Again, push it in, fold over. And then that gives us a lovely, crisp, neat corner. Okay. Now I do apologise if you can hear a lot of noise out of my window. We've got the combine harvesters in the field. They're harvesting the wheat that we've got growing in fields next to us. So they're busy doing that. So they will be doing that most of the night, I would think, tonight. But they've got a nice warm night for it, so it's not too bad for them today. Now, I don't know if I like that corner. There we go, that's better. There we are. So push that down. Last bit, and then that's finished. So off we go. Off we go. And then just fold them over. There we are, lovely. So that then is what our front looks like, and then this is the back. So now we've got some nice clean, fresh finishes here. Don't worry if these don't marry up, because we will be covering this with another sheet of craft card when we come to it. So don't worry if they are a bit uneven. Right, so now what we need to do is we need to just reinforce our creases where our front cover folds or bends to meet the spine. So I just reinforce them. What I do is I'm just using this piece of plastic just to reinforce the bends, so that then they are created a nice crisp finish. Okay. So that then is the start of our book. Okay. So now what we need to do, now we're going to add our hidden hinge that we made in part 1. And then what I've done is I've just then gone ahead, so you may want to pause this part. I've gone ahead and I've added our double-sided tape onto the panels that didn't have any on. So this is what we did in the first video, which was the red tape, and then I've just gone and put the white score tape on the 2 panels. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to now take off the red tape, but not the white tape yet, because I want to be able to position my hinge you know, as central as I can. So the reason I don't take it all off is so that it gives me a bit of time, you know, in case I get it in the wrong place. So you might see my head in a minute, because I'm going to have to bend over to hopefully get it in the right place. Okay, so that's all the double-sided tape taken off our hinges. So now what we need to do is we need to position it as central as we possibly can. Okay, so once you've got it in place, you just need to burnish in between, like so. And then we can then take this double-sided tape off our larger panels, if it will come off. I need to get a new one of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then stick down. Okay. And then while it's stuck, we're going to reinforce those score lines again. So just slowly bend it up as you're just moving your credit card or your bone folder back and forth, and then you should hopefully then get a really nice crisp bend. Don't go too mad, because you may split the paper on the outside. But if you do that by mistake, it's easily fixed, because we can just make up a cover that goes over it. As you can probably tell, that's happened to me a few times. So take off the other side. There, and then that should just stick down. You can just burnish that down so that's nice and firmly stuck, and then do the same with this side. Just bring it up very slowly as that's brilliant. Okay. And so that there is the start of our book. So if you haven't got the tonic dies and you're waiting for them to come, you can have a practice at making them before they actually arrive. Having the spine die is a godsend. It really is. It just works it all out for you, which is brilliant. But in the meantime, you can at least have a go and make up the books as and when. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Tonic bring out a square die set of memory books that we can use, because I love square books. They're my favourite. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there for now. When we come back, we're going to work on doing our pages. Now, I like to, if I'm doing this not on camera, I like to make my pages one page at a time, decorate it, and then add it to my book. But for the purpose of the video, I'll make all 6 and then decorate them as we go along. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been entertaining and you've learned something new, a new skill to add to your repertoire of crafty skills. Please give me a like or a comment. I love comments. They really brighten my day. I love to read them and what everybody think. And even if you make any of my tutorials that I've done, I love to see them as well. If you have a look in the description box, I've got all the links to my social media. If you make anything and then you want to show me, I'm on Facebook, so you can give me a message, and I will, obviously answer, and it would be just lovely to see them. So with that said, please also subscribe, and then you can keep up to date and get the notifications when I upload new videos. And I'm trying to do one near enough every day if I can, because there's so much I want to do. I need to sort of get my bottom in gear and start getting them done. So with that in mind, wherever you are in the world, have a nice evening or a great day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.